This episode of Bullet Heaven was made possible by Xona Games. In episode 28 of Bullet Heaven, we took a look at a trio of $1 Xbox Live indie games as part of a special Indie 3 episode. One such game was Xona Games Score Rush, an ultra-smooth, super fun 4-player twin-stick shooter that played like Geometry Wars but felt more like a bullet hell-style shmup. As far as Xbox indie games go, we felt that Score Rush was definitely one of the finest games the service had to offer, all the way up to the very end. But there's no way that Score Rush was going to be left to die along with the Xbox Indie Games service, so Xona Games is back with Score Rush Extended, a highly updated version of the Xbox Indie Original, released to the PlayStation 4 on May 31st, 2016. This enhanced version of Score Rush adds a whole bunch of neat features and game types to the core concept of the game. Let's take a closer look. Score Rush Extended plays more or less identically to its original version. 1 to 4 players move their ship around the screen with the left analog stick and fires their main shot at any angle they choose with the right analog stick. As always, the movement here is supremely tight and offers a level of control that will allow players to squeeze through all kinds of tight spaces. Players can even use the PS4's D-pad if they so choose. In conjunction with a tiny, always visible hitbox sprite and high-contrast bullets, if you die, it's all on you. There are definitely going to be times that a bomb is going to be needed to clear away enemy shots. Pulling the right trigger will allow players to use a bomb from their stock of 3, but care should be used as this stock does not replenish when the player dies. Players can also pick up power enhancements for their main shot and additional trailing options to boost their firepower. Once their main shot is fully upgraded though, power pickups will serve to clear enemy bullets in lieu of using a bomb. Getting good enough to survive up until maximum power is achieved is a great strategy to lasting longer, keeping this in mind. One added control feature that's new to Extended is the slow mechanic. Holding the R1 button down will slow your ship to allow for greater movement accuracy in tighter spaces. This mechanic is borrowed from Japanese-style bullet hell type shooters, but differs in that it can be activated at will rather than in conjunction with a concentrated shot. Score Rush Extended also has a number of new modes of play. A boss rush exists, which allows players to take on an abbreviated stage with bosses and a few popcorn enemies for good measure. Score Rush Extended also employs a feature that was demonstrated in one of Xona's previous development projects, Duality ZX. Players can take on the game using 2 ships at once for a total of 8 ships on screen. Both ships can get a full stock of options and firepower too, so it gets pretty insane. Needless to say, it's not only absolutely chaotic, but ridiculously satisfying as well. Score Rush has just one stage in its main game, but it lasts a very long time, with 8 distinct bosses to contend with. The slow mechanic will also not only slow your ships down, but also group them closer together. There's obviously a lot of game here given this, and practice is obviously going to be needed to get through to the end to unlock the higher difficulties that Score Rush sports. But multiplayer is also a huge component to the core gameplay and replayability of the game. While it is not an online game, couch co-op is every bit as engaging as you'd expect from Score Rush, making it an awesome party piece. Players' controllers will even light up the same color as their ship. Multiplayer games can be both harder or easier depending how you look at it. On the one hand, all of the lives and bombs given at game start are all shared amongst all of the players. This can mean a swift end if players aren't especially good at Score Rush. On the other side of the coin, there are features that make the multiplayer simply brilliant. If all of the lives in the stock are used up, players can still get back into the game 10 seconds after they die, so long as another player is still in the game. When a player respawns, a pulse will also clear enemy bullets away to help a player that may have gotten cornered by bullets that are no longer being aimed at others. In the case of dual mode play, the second ship can help in this manner as well, even in single player. Naturally, this can make for some really intense and super fun moments. For a game with such high emphasis on scoring, you'd think that there would be an insane amount of scoring bits to keep track of in Score Rush. As it turns out, there isn't. A player's score is only obtained directly through enemy destruction. The bullet wipe from extra power-ups is all that players are rewarded with at max power, and even then, the bullets cleared don't enhance the score. Shoot and kill. Nice and simple. However, ranking on the online leaderboards is quite a bit more interesting than obtaining the score in the first place. Leaderboards are separated by number of players and whether they are playing dual ship or not. Boss Rush also has a leaderboard identical in structure to the main game. Score Rush could be seen as being semi-competitive with each player having their score displayed on screen, but they are all combined into one core score to be uploaded. When it is, all players will be displayed with the same score, making Score Rush 100% cooperative. There's no incentive to screw over other players. This, of course, lends itself to even more fun factors, since everyone is working to the same ultimate goal as a team, not as an individual. Even in the first version of Score Rush we took a look at all those years ago, the presentation was something that really stood out to us. This time around, the visuals and sound have been amped up and really make Score Rush Extended a real sight to behold, especially since the game engine allows for everything happening on screen, even with 8 ships at full power, to be moved around at a solid brisk 60 frames per second. Some changes have obviously been made. Player ships have much more definition, there are clear black outlines on all bullets, the huge explosions and shot impacts are clear and fiery, and tons of flaming wreckage can be seen on the ground below where your enemies meet their final end. It's pretty sweet. Likewise, the BGM tracks by Dragon Music make Score Rush Extended feel extra epic, just like they did in the original game. All of the sound effects in Score Rush are also spot on, with epic explosions, boss arrival sounds, and pickup effects that match the gameplay in every way. Players also hear their specific pickups through their controllers, as well as their deaths. It all comes together to make a game that every shmup fan should be playing on their PS4s, but how does it stack up? Let's take a look. The control in Score Rush Extended is pretty much perfect. Challenge-wise, Score Rush Extended has a difficulty curve that will definitely test even veteran players, but still remains accessible to newcomers. A huge giant single stage holds all 8 boss encounters, extra replay value with additional modes of play, and multiplayer boosts Score Rush's length. Visually, the pure 60 frames per second chaos on screen will leave players drooling from sensory overload. You know, in the best possible way. A rockin' soundtrack and great sound effects make for a game that sounds as awesome as it looks. In terms of ingenuity, the cool new dual ship option really stands out, and multiple game modes, difficulties, and score attacks are pretty fresh feeling. The awesome multiplayer's fantastic features are truly amazing. Xona Games really pulled out all the stops in Score Rush Extended, charging out of the gates with a game that's just amazing to play and compete in. It's one that we know everyone will come back to again and again. Score Rush Extended gets a 5 out of 5. You can get your copy of Score Rush Extended on the PlayStation Store for about $10 US.